I hope you're doing awesome. All that time in the sunshine. All that exposure. I had a weird little, so I cut it off. I cut my nose despite my face. uh, mm, Not too bad. Not too bad. So I was asked the question of what's the what's the single best bit of advice that I've ever had, and uh, there I can't seem to find a way to express it less than like two ideas in one sentence. Do your best in everything you do. Part one. And the second part, leave the environments that you're in and the people that are in them improved, better, because you were there. Now let's flesh this out a little bit. So, my best I cannot possess. I can be in the presence of my best by giving it away freely. So, if I try to own it and diminish how much time I can spend being my best, who do I take the most from? If we're all social creatures, meaning we're interdependent on one another. I need to be in the presence of another human being's best so that I can be healthy. That's what being a social creature means. So the first step of leadership, the very first step, is setting the example. So if you set the example of giving your best, what's the odds that somebody else who has spent time practicing their best isn't going to recognize it, isn't going to see it, isn't going to appreciate it, isn't going to offer it back? And the whole notion of I know what I am, I know what I can do, I know, it's all more often than not. Everything that sits in that category is fear based. It's a delimitation. It's not inclusive. It's not descriptive. It's delimiting. Why would you ever want to do that? Why would you ever want to do that? Part two, the leave environments better. So if you, back in the olden days, like the early 1900s through the 1950s, through the 1970s, the idea of camping, as far as Boy Scouts goes, you got to leave that spot you found better than you found it. That means you don't leave a bubblegum wrapper behind. You're going to before you leave your campsite, you're going to be certain that the fire's out and there's no way that it can spread and everything's okay, that there's no unburned trash or something sitting there. And then you're going to start walking. And if it's just by yourself, walk a spiral. And you're going to go around the outside of that fire and you're going to work your way out. And you're going to fix things. If you're lucky enough to be camping someplace where, there isn't a lot of trash left behind, how awesome is that? So why not, when you're doing that circle, pick up all the little pieces that you need so you can start building that fire and getting it ready, getting everything set, so that the next person who comes into that campground would be ready to go. I don't mean igniting it. I mean you could assemble the pieces. If you got some extra water sitting around, then you got it before you leave that campsite. If I gave one, do I have enough water for myself? If the answer to that is yes, does anything around me need some water before I go? Like living off a bicycle, I've gone into towns where like volunteers are showing up with water to water the plants that are hanging on a gazebo, let's say. Well, I got a water bottle. I'm enjoying taking a break from bicycling underneath that gazebo. They got water right over there, beautiful brass faucet on a water fountain. It's nice. So since I got two water bottles, how come I don't enjoy drinking some for me and let's help out whatever around me? It's the spirit of trying to find what it is can you give. What can you bring that is of service to the environment you find yourself in? And I think that's awesome to teach in Boy Scouts, because that's setting into motion the foundations of what it is to be a healthy man. How beautiful is that? Now, don't think of those examples as prescriptive. It's simply descriptive. You're a beautiful, vibrant human being. You know all sorts of stuff and experienced all sorts of stuff that I haven't. So bring your expertise to bear. If you know what you could do to improve or fix a problem that's currently in the environment, that's a gift. That's 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 such a beautiful gift. Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you be that? Now, sometimes you can't. So let's get into the talking about part two, the second part of that, like the idea of leaving people better than you find them. It's a tough thing, right? Like let's take a project and think it doesn't matter what the project is, but there's some project that's sitting there, and if it was completed, we're going to call that 100%. If I set it into motion and I do the first 10, 15, 20%, and then get somebody else to finish that project, they won't even remember that I existed. And if I see that project and I just do the whole project, then unless you're in the presence of somebody else who's taking care of the whole thing, then nobody else in that immediate environment, you're enabling them. You're denying them the process. You're denying them the privilege of being able to be involved in the process. And you're limiting their growth. And you're enabling them. I don't know what the exact ratios are for the sweet spots, but what I've generally found, that is, if you're less than a third, you don't exist, which is helpful to know. It doesn't necessarily mean it's still not worth doing. Ego's based off of fear. So do you really need to fuel your ego by being like, well, I did it? No, you don't. But it also allows for you to enable another person's ego. For example, I was the first time I was on a board, I was 18. And so I've spent a lot of time on boards with good sized budgets, like not small stuff. And so I've had a lot of practice at it. So I was different than the other people involved in an HOA board precisely because I wasn't getting on the board to take something from the group. That's a huge difference than a bunch of the Machiavellian bastards that showed up. And then the other difference was I've spent a lot of time on boards. So I've seen it. I've been there. I've done that. I get how this works. And so we were working on a project, and I mean, I had to go talk with this person because they were complaining, because they wanted to take from the HOA. They created the problem, maintained the problem, nurtured the problem, stared at the problem, then wanted to have others pay to have it corrected. And when I got them to see that, like, it's true. Everything I just said was true, and I got them to see it. And the fact that they could go from being so completely wrong and misguided for so long to all of a sudden be like, holy shit, I never thought of it that way. Ah, damn, dude, you're right. That's awesome. That's what you want. You want somebody who's willing to be present in something that's true. So I worked my ass off to convince that person to get on the board. You know who walked to every single house? There was like 400 some houses in this neighborhood. You know who walked to every one of them each night on their own time? Ring a doorbell to go meet a stranger to chit chat with them about a project? This guy. And then that dude that like I convinced to be on the board, and then did that less than 1/3 in a bunch of categories so that, good things could happen, was all of a sudden giving me a ton of ego. As though, and I was like, whoa, whoa. I seem to remember that the only reason, and, just review some tape. Not because I'm right and they're wrong. I don't want to fuel my ego. But the whole reason I did all that stuff wasn't so some idiot, through their own practices of fears and their own cowardice, could go ahead and blow up their ego. That's not going to help their marriage. That's not going to help them be a better parent. Sure as shit won't help them be a better business owner. And the proof that that guy was so awesome, like just how that first time when he was like, oh shit, I did that. Immediately was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. I'm so sorry. He didn't mean to do that. He just got carried away. We all do that. So, and if you, the giving more than 2/3, I think of, I had a father-in-law back when I was married, and he was alive. And Don was awesome. Just an awesome fella. And the way that his death got set up, he could see it coming. And it freaked him out. He hadn't spent time trying to not die on the side of a mountain, or not die falling through the sky, or not die drowning under the water, or any of the other numerous stupid stuff that I had done. So the skill set to manage going into that place, he was tender. He was unpracticed. He was overwhelmed. And he did so much for his wife. Oh my God. Just ridiculous, the amount of stuff that guy did. And precisely because so many of those categories were so close to 100%, do you think his wife was appreciative of him? No. Hell no. Do you think that she was like, oh my God, thank you so much for, yeah? No. If somebody's never shoveled a drive, do you think that they give a shit that you spent 3 hours outside shoveling? They have no context. So I was trying to get him to understand that idea because it came up with one of the things his wife had never done was get out and mow the yard. She's always enjoyed living in a double lot, seeing a bunch of grass, spending time outside. That's all healthy. He wanted her to do that more. Oh my God. So you're gonna start mowing a yard finally because somebody's gonna be here. I'm gonna get her the sweetest tractor, just the best tractor. And I don't mean some like stamped piece of plastic garbage that's designed to mow grass. I mean an actual machine built out of metal that's, oh, you could run that thing thousands of hours every year and it would never matter. And it'd feel great and comfortable and it's fun to do. Get her that one. He spent more on the tractor for her than he spent on the car for his first kid, second kid, third kid. A lot. He dies. That tractor, there's plenty of room in a garage. Double car wide, double car deep. And then there's a carport to the side. Tractor didn't get to be inside that garage even though there was room. That tractor didn't get to be underneath that awning on the side. That tractor had to be behind the garage, sitting out in just being weathered. And then after you just let it sit outside and rust and do nothing with it for like a couple of years, then you just give it away for a couple $100 to strangers. There's no, because she didn't mow the grass throughout the life with her husband. She had no skill set, no tools, no desire, no reference point to look at that husband and be like, holy shit, you're awesome, man. Any of us that have spent any time cutting grass, you buy us, what do we got? That thing's awesome. Hell yeah, that's a great way to spend a day right there. Thank you so much. Not there. Now, I told that story once to a Masonic brother. He was getting dragged into facing his death. He was going to be imprisoned in his body and then die. And he was also already isolated because he's incredibly successful, was incredibly successful with business. So if you're incredibly successful with business and a lot of money, are there a lot of people calling you on your bullshit? Now, to some degree, everybody is, right? Like if I own a business, that means like anything goes wrong with everybody, all of it is all my fault. That's why I would be a successful business owner. So he would argue and didn't. Well, what do you mean? I'm answering to everybody. Do you feel seen and appreciated by your wife and your kids? And it's not their fault. Don't even look at the portion that you can't control. You look at the portion you can control. The healthiest priorities through all of time are you take care of yourself, you take care of your spouse, you take care of your kids, you take care of work, then you use charity as a litmus test. He's like, yeah, I know. Really? So you work just as hard for the success and health of your wife as you do your business? You didn't do that. You work just as hard spending time with your kids as you spend on working your business? What are you talking about? Jim? And what I'm saying right there is not to pick on that guy. He is awesome. I love him to death. There's more. He didn't become less successful with business because he fixed his priorities. He was able to give more. He didn't become less successful with charities because he fixed his priorities. He became more. So when you enable a person, you are you are you are isolating them from a learning curve. You're removing the possibility for them to practice gratitude, forgiveness. Like you're cutting right off the top so many portions, so many activities that literally define love. Why do that? Now, that same fella, he was like, well, how do you tackle that? And I suggested, I was like, you got to get busy mentoring people. You got an amazing skill set. And because you haven't been mentoring people and teaching people, what's the odds that you're going to do a good job teaching your wife and your kid? Zzz, plural. But what are the odds you're going to be able to do that? So, like, whenever I get the opportunity to help somebody else who isn't my kid, I'm like, oh, right. I mean, this is my chance to practice so that then when I'm able to actually be able to share something and teach something with my kid, I'll be better at it. And he was pausing and he's like, yeah, but I just still don't even know where to look. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give you we're gonna set up two dissimilar environments and you tell me which one you want to be in to learn to practice and do these things. One environment, everybody in that environment is masterful with an insane skill set. And you got to figure out how to teach them. And when you try to teach them, they're going to cut you to pieces on all the portions you have wrong. Or two, you're going to go someplace where everybody's poor and nobody has a skill set and everybody's just struggling along, barely past and having invented a wheel. And even your mistakes are more correct than the portions they have correct. Where do you want to give your time? Well, I'd want to give it to that second. And I was like, yeah, I mean, and he's like, how did you learn this? And I was like, well, healthy people treat you wonderfully when you do something healthy and good. So you feel great and you want to do it more. Unhealthy people and evil people try to make you feel horrible when you do something that's healthy. And I love saying thanks, telling somebody something nice that's true. You know who doesn't hear that often? Janitors, people emptying trash cans, the people driving you in a bus, the person sitting in a cafeteria cooking food. No, I mean, meals that lady's like prepared every day, 40 hours a week. Oh, when's the last time somebody had like smiles in their eyes and gave her a big hug and said, oh my God, thank you. Thank you. It was so good. Oh, thanks for feeding me. Thanks. I looked forward all day to this lunch. I'm not alone. All my friends, we were all looking forward to it. Oh, we got so happy when you made yada yada. It's so good. Thank you. And precisely because they've gone so long without, and it's so true, how much do you give that person by behaving that way? So I was looking, one of the things the mentally ill and the evil do is they're ruthlessly efficient. Like their goal is feeding off a reaction. So breaking boundaries, doing bad things, blowing things up, destroying things, burning things. They all require less energy to create a huge emotional awakened outcome. And they're lazy, which is why they just keep doing that again and again. And once you do that a bunch of times, it's going to be way easier if you do it a bunch of times more. None of that's healthy. All the things that are, so if you want to build something, then you'd have to build it and you want it to last. If you wanted your actions to have permanence to them, it would have to be based on something that's timeless. And Ben Franklin suggested that acts that are good and acts that are evil kind of resonate through time. Like, look how evil old Adolf spent his life being. How many different videos and documentaries and this and that still exist because of that nonsense? Take an act of good. Some people want to pretend that Ben wasn't very religious and he wasn't like a devout Catholic. He funded the building of so many churches. Helping people to spend more time in the presence of something that's true is healthy. It's healthy. Time. There's no greater arbiter. There is no more severe delineator of what's true than time. So, how do you do something that's good? How do you leave a person better than you find it? What is the most amazing thing that you can give to a person that'll allow them to be changed for the better? Kindness, humility, gratitude. Letting them see you're rejoicing in truth. When you speak truth, you're not attacking them. You're happy and you're excited about it. You're forgiving. And when you do these things, most people, most of the time, are going through most of their life not being very thoughtful, not being very present. And so the wrong example can kind of trip up a bunch of people to do a bunch of silly things. When you bring those disciplines of love into being present, you're setting into motion this beautiful reverberation of health. You know who I've been least kind to in my whole life? Me. Do you know who I endlessly am boastful towards? Me. It's by practicing the disciplines of love with others that we improve and increase the capacity to practice it to ourselves. And as soon as we started practicing it to ourselves, oh my God, it's so much easier to practice it with others. I don't, like, women get this idea so incredibly wrong so often, but they're not alone in it. It's fear-based. But my daughter, there's this competition. There's this other kid. Hey, yeah, Dad. Do you think that because I love you, I love Sasha less? No. Do you think because I love you, I love your mother less? No. Then you can understand that because I love your sister, I have the capacities to love you more. Oh. So why would you ever be upset that you're watching me practice things that are healthy with your sister rather than being reassured that I'm going to be practicing even more healthy things with you. So when we talk about leaving people better than you find them, a lie harms the liar the most. So when you tell somebody and you get somebody else to hold a lie, you're not good. You're evil. You're evil. That ain't love. It's not love. It's cowardice. And when if you're gonna just take care of everything to like hook somebody up and you're already masterful, God bless you. That's awesome. Let it rip, man. Do it. Do it. If you know how you can solve a problem, do it. But but if you're if you can also involve some of the other people, odds are they would want to be involved anyhow. And then the outcome, whatever you're working on, it's better anyhow. If you kept your parameters to I will give no less than a third and I will give no more than 2/3. Get going. Now, since leadership requires setting an example, if you're going to mentor somebody in a business, you're going to need to outwork them. You're going to need to take less pay and give more. Otherwise, when it comes time for that moment for them to learn and begin to let go of their ego, they're going to have every reason for their ego to attack you. You've not set the example in the way that you should have. Excuse me. The employees of Tesla gave more because they watched Elon sleeping on the floor, sleeping in a chair, sleeping in a room after having worked all night. They knew he cared. You could see it. Who there worked more than him? Who there risked as much money as he risked for the privilege to work more than everybody else in the whole damn company, while not only taking less, but looking at the notion of losing everything? Leadership begins by setting that example. And we used to this idea was more natural if we're all living together on a farm like in the woods. We're all going to be interacting with each other a whole bunch. You're going to have some roles that fit you that you like and do, and I'm going to have other ones, but you know what? You're going to come along. Like when I was talking to this person's house that I'm in, who's passed. One time I got to chat with him and his brothers, and their brides were there. And I asked the brides, do you like hunting? No, no, no. Oh, killing's wrong. No. All that stereotypical nonsense you think that they would answer to that. That's exactly what they answered. And then I asked the question, I was like, well, did somebody show you how to use a firearm and take you hunting? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, I kind of like shooting. Like, I was good at shooting a piece of paper. Oh, I like shooting that clay bird that blew up. That was fun. All right. I'm asking you as a new father, was your life improved because you actually went hunting a couple of times with your dad? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So, what would happen if you took your priorities and you got them You're not going to change overnight. There's no need to change overnight, but we're going to get them a little better. You take care of you, you take care of your spouse, then you guys come together and pick up and take care of the kids, and now your family's right. Now you can afford to go do something for work. And then after you did that, oh, come on. Charity starts at the home. So who in your family tree could you guys help and contribute and do something good? Who's living right around you that you could like help and you could pick up and set something good into motion? And like with my buddy, with the mentoring, and God bless him, like he came right around. He started a business with his kids. He started a project with his wife. And I said, well, aren't you Christian? He's like, yeah. I was like, have you ever heard this idea that those with the most should give to, and he finished it, those with the least? And I was like, that's right. I was like, so where's the poorest place in the world? You could be using this phone and you could be mentoring business owners in parts of the country that like, I mean, if you've built a business and been successful building a business in the US, you could do it anywhere in the world. So why not help others? Because like by helping that business owner, you're not helping change one family, you're helping teach one family how to change countless other families all around them. Why won't you do that? No, I can do that. And he did. Like the beauty of him was in that when he was present, like because he was such a successful business owner, because he had spent so much time practicing sports and having to be disciplined. He was a handsome fella, so he did modeling. So like you got to be disciplined. You got money. You can go do whatever you want. You know how easy it is to become fat and out of shape. You can afford the best food and the best drink. You got the best chairs. You got the most amazing shiny boxes and the most beautiful of gilded cages. You know how much discipline you need to not eat that? To exercise? To fast? And it was precisely because he had those disciplines, those, I call them healthy discomforts. Things that don't feel good when you do them, but they're so damn healthy to do. Delayed gratification, stretching, exercise. Like there's so many that you could choose from. And by participating in these things, we improve our capacities to be in the presence of something that is true. We improve the likelihood that we will more quickly let go of the portion we had wrong and pick up and carry further the portion that we could have correct. How amazing is that? So, the best advice I've ever heard, one, you cannot be seen or known if you're a liar. You cannot be seen or known if you're practicing fear. You cannot be seen or known if you're pretending like, oh, I wonder, I know what they think of me. I know what they... Stop all of that. To give your best, you got to give 100% of what you are to the present. Just that. Martin Luther King said it a brilliant way. I think it was him. I'm crap at names, so you're going to have to forgive me that. But the idea that if you're going to be a janitor, if your job's going to be emptying trash cans, you be the best damn trash can emptier ever. You empty them, you make sure they're clean. You put them back in a really good spot that makes sense. If you're interacting with people, you got a smile on your face when you're kind and humble and you're grateful and you're forgiving and you're patient. You don't worry about how somebody's treating you. You worry about how can I give more? How can I be of even more respect to others? And the reason you'll end up doing that is because by giving your best at the end of the day, you know it. And that's precisely how individuals earn respect. You earn it from yourself. I'm not respectful to another because they've earned it. I don't know them. I can't know them in that way. And even if I could, I don't want to have to carry the burdens of judging another in that way. Why would I want to do that? To judge is to fear. I don't want to touch any of that crap. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm respectful of another, like that. That neighbor with Mister. The neighbor comes over and we're talking, and I'm terrible at names. And usually, when I meet a neighbor, like I would draw a map of my house and the homes around me, and then when I learned their name, I would try my best to get as quickly as I could. And sometimes I'd take them. I'd be like, "Hang on, come with me," and I'd walk them right up to the thing, and they'd help me. Like when I did that in Akron, my neighbor was like, "Oh, I can help you with that," and they started like writing in the names of the people that they knew. But I mean, I would stare at that that was my fridge, and I'm staring at it every time I use the fridge, and it would take me years to get that crap right. And so I'm meeting one of them, and he's like, "Oh, I'm blah, first name, last name. Let's say it's Bob Cedric." And he's like, "What? Oh, I'm Jim Jeffries." Yeah, da. And then we're talking about something like, "Well, Bob, that doesn't." And as soon as I say Bob, you know, he's older than me for sure. He's older than me. He's like, corrects me, Mr. Cedric. Now, part of that was from the age of that generation, one, and part of that was because this guy was awesome. And so then later, when talking, like oh, forgive me, sir. I instantly started calling him Mister. And then later, when he called me by my first name, I was like, whoa, we ain't doing that. And he's like, excuse me? I was like, uh, if you want me to refer to you in that respectful manner, then you will be extending the exact same courtesy to me, and you'll be referring to me as Mr. Jeffries. And if at some point you want to go about it differently, not a problem at all, Mr. Jeffries. And he would see me with the biggest smiles driving by and stop. "How you doing today, Mr. Jeffries?" "Oh, I'm doing great, Mr. Cedric." And we would chat. Oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And it was wonderful precisely because neither party had wasted any time demanding respect. There was no need for that. Each party had spent their life earning the respect through giving their best and knowing themselves, being kind to themselves, being humble. Once you respect yourself, being humble to yourself, being grateful to yourself, being forgiven to yourself, all these things come easy. So, I want you to give your best in everything you do, because being able to earn respect, earn your own respect, being able to be seen, to be known, to be loved, all those things are based off that. One. And two, since we're social creatures, if you leave every environment you're in better than you find it, do you think Mother Nature is compelled to kill you? I never wanted to pick a fight with Mother Nature. If every time I'm in Mother Nature and I'm helping it and I'm leaving it better than I find it, what's the odds that Mother Nature won't take care of me when I need a little help? Why would she be any different than if every time I showed up to somebody who's like to a family or a home, And I hook them up, and I'm patient and forgiving and tender and gentle and humble and grateful. What's the odds they wouldn't want me back? And by practicing these things, what will end up happening is discernment. It almost becomes unnecessary. Like, to become masterful in something means you've made the mistakes in that category more than anybody else has made mistakes in that category, which is why you get it right with such great consistency. That's to know something, to become masterful in your knowledge. You have practiced and overcome more errors than anybody else in that category. But when you have earned your own respect and you're respectful, therefore, of others, and you practice the disciplines of love, being kind, humble, practice those disciplines, kind, humble, grateful, forgiving with others, they will reveal themselves to you. I'll give you an example. That guy, his name was Chris. And Chris told me on numerous occasions that I was his hero. And I was his hero precisely because those priorities were correct. Because by focusing on his wife and his kids, as he became trapped and he was forced to realize in his body, and he was forced to realize all the things that were important, oh, he had something in that category. It was hilarious to listen. Sometimes somebody would like walk past. I don't know why he's spending any time helping people with packaging. The truth of his action became the trigger for somebody else who was carrying the lie. And then they had spent, and God bless them for doing it. Like, I was busy counting days because I'm not going to fail. Damn it. I'm not going to fail. It's too important. So I'm going to count the days until I've been successful in that category. I'm not going to let go. He's like, well, Jim, why don't you count the days on something that's like just as equally important to you but positive? Well, that's what this will be. I'm just not there yet. I'm in the dark days of that. And so then they had spent all this time planning a funeral, and then when they laid out at the funeral, it was amazing. It was amazing. So for me, it was amazing because you don't know, when you teach somebody and you try to help somebody, you don't always know whether or not you were successful. So then when you see like the family there talking about all the things that they've known him longer, they have loved him, they would say they love him more, they've loved him longer, to see that the things that they loved in him the most and were most thankful for, that he had told me I was his hero precisely for having helped him in those categories. What more could you ever need? I mean, it was amazing. Yeah, and you never know how that's going to work out. Like, I had it was cold. It was in double digits, like 15, 12, like, but I mean, they were low. Fahrenheit, by the way. It was low, and I bicycled. I didn't have as much sleep as I should have, because I was trying to help somebody who couldn't help themselves, who was being mismanaged and misused. I was trying I was trying to keep them safe. And so I was already kind of tired from doing that. And I went through that storm, and you have no idea what to expect. And then you hear that. And then I was completely ignored. And later, the person who ignored me apologized for it. And you don't gotta apologize for that. Like, when you've lost that much, like, I get it. When I have been present at so many funerals, I've had so many people that I've cared about die and pass. Like, I get it. I get it. It's all right. It's all right. But because I've given my best so ardently for so long, because I have practiced kindness and humility and gratitude, of course, I can extend forgiveness. But, but, and here's what I mean, like, the discernment kind of goes away. If you offer that forgiveness to somebody who hasn't practiced it, then they think you're belittling the relationship. They think that, oh, well, I must not have meant anything to you. Since I've never forgiven people who I say that I love, you being able to actually forgive me is proof that you don't love me. And they instantly react and behave that way. You don't need the discernment. And I'm not trying to pick on them either. This is true for everybody. We all do it. It's not about being right. It's about figuring out how we can get closer and spend more time with what's true. Because that's where timelessness sits. And if you really want a discernment, that means you got to be like the master and of being evil in all the different categories that you humans have been evil in. So that way you could always know the game. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. And the reason you know it is because you've lived out and masterfully practiced all those mistakes. Why would you ever want to do that, man? There are these kids that care a whole lot about who are being horrifically treated and abused. And on one of the events that abused them, they were so sad. And I was like, hey, would you be sad if that dog couldn't fly? No. Well, right. Why? Because it's not a choice. I was like, that's right. So you're really sad right now because you haven't accepted the truth, the reality of what that other person is. What do you mean? Well, does that other person love themselves? No. Do you want a life like that other person? No. When that other person goes, that we're talking about, when that other person goes and interacts with other people, is it nice? Is it something that you would want to experience? No. Okay. So if a broken person did something, a broken person or an evil person did something that was broken or evil to you, why would you be upset? I don't know. Well, I would suggest it's because you're trying to hang on to the lie that there's something they're not. If you get hard at work rather than giving judgment and trying to figure out the whys in life, you get really hard being present and just figuring out what is. Then forgiveness becomes pretty easy, particularly if you give your best. How easy is it to forgive yourself if you gave your best? And if you're in the habit of forgiving yourself, how much room and grace would you have to forgive another? How cool is that? Thank you for your time. Katia, Leah, and Michael, I miss you and love you. Know your love.